to the Trinity Force Podcast. Yo, it's that Triforce cast beaming straight to your home. Grab a beer so we know Pone ain't drinking alone. Send an email, a quick tweet, just pick up the phone. Leave a message, hit the beep if you're a creep, watch your tone. Discuss the meta game, patch notes, whatever helps your stats most. Obi-Pone Kenobi is your last hope to snatch gold. So grab your headphones and join in the fun. We'll try and force in some jokes and some cringeworthy puns. Yo, we can make it together, people. Trinity Force Podcast. These boys are second to none. Now that's the end of the intro. It's time we begun.
Hello, everyone out there in podcast land. Thank you for listening and watching the Trinity Force Podcast, part of the Trinity Force Network. My name is Adam Ponophobia Cogswell. That's right, I am your host for this evening, joined by Dom and Mitch. Both of you say hello.
That is a bear. That is not Mitch. That's a bear.
No, there's good reason, though, and I think we'll get to it in a second.
Cowsa is on the podcast this evening.
No. This is a panda. This is not a cow. So, and
yes.
it's going to go away. It's going to go away very quickly after the beginning of this podcast because it's not that necessary, and my head will get very warm.
That's right. Guys, we're going to be talking about some League of Legends questions and more of your listener questions this evening as we have lots of them to get through. Plus, it's really good podcast fodder and allows us to come up with a bunch of really interesting things to talk about. Wednesday, we'll be doing a patch episode as we normally do, as that should be out this week.
Is it really a patch? Jesus Christ.
Well,
It's
here's
the
the thing.
two-week patch cycle.
We've had like so many. I feel like we've had a crazy amount of episodes that have been listener questions recently, and that's not bad, or just like topic ones. And before that, we had like I think a more frequent not patch cycle, but we were talking about so much. We do this patch, or we'll talk about what's coming up on the PBE or mid-season, and now we're finally cycled into the actual what should be happening for the rest of the season, sort of.
Right.
I guess cycle, which is a bad way of
bookending
that.
I did miss last Wednesday, so that's probably partially why it feels like this patch is so soon. But
hey.
yeah, goddamn.
So, a lot of you out there, if you are watching the YouTube video, you're probably wondering why are there boxers on the screen? And that's because the Trinity Force Podcast this week has a new
We're getting
sponsor to
raunchy.
talk about.
We're getting raunchy. Everyone's showing their butt. It's just butts on the screen. There's actually none. You can't see any of our faces.
No, but so I'm sure a lot of you guys out there have heard all these, podcasts talking about the different underwear. There's like, I'm not going to name them because I'm not going to give the competition the time of day. But you guys know what I'm talking about. If you listen to other podcasts, you've heard lots of other people talk about underwear. Well, I've got a different type of underwear for you, which is actually really, really, really awesome because it's Buddha Boxers, BUDDHA Boxers.com. Using code TrinityForce, you'll get 20% off your entire order, plus there's free shipping. So you can get like 2 pairs of boxers for about $32 shipped, which is fantastic. Now, these boxers are different because they're made from bamboo. They're really good at wicking away the sweat. They're really good at keeping you cool and comfortable while you're gaming all day. And I don't know about you two guys, but I sit in a chair all day at work, and then I come home and I'll sit in my chair more as I'm playing League and whatnot, and generally speaking, I get pretty uncomfortable in store-bought underwear, and I am actually wearing my pair of Buddha boxes right now. No, I will not show you guys. And I don't feel like I'm wearing underwear, which is awesome. That's what I've always been looking for. I don't want to feel all constricted and awkward and everything else, and in Buddha Boxers, BUDDHA Boxers.com. These Buddha Boxers do a fantastic job of keeping me cool and comfortable, and I think everybody out there would love them. And as you guys know, we don't allow sponsors on the podcast unless we are trying them and we like the product, and this is one of those products that I really like. Now, I know Mitch has a pair. Mitch, what do you think?
Yeah, so I bought a 5-pack, I guess last week, and they arrived over the weekend. And yeah, they're very comfortable. I was surprised how much they didn't feel like bamboo because you'd expect that to be very rigid and not have a lot of mobility. Instead, they're very comfortable and amazing. They're like Adam said, comfortable all day. I wore them all day today. You got a bunch of colors. I don't know if that matters to a lot of people, but they're
matters
good.
To me. Fuck. God damn, am I tired of just like black and dark gray?
Well, now you got blue and green. Yeah, so you can just kind of like hike up that pant leg and be like, ooh, there's some color down there, except it's not skin.
Did you buy the boxer briefs, or are you wearing the trunks?
Wait. That's I need to like zoom in on the picture now. I've had the same like type of style for a long time, and I don't really pay attention.
Okay. I have a pair of the trunks.
I think it's fuck, I don't know. I could find this out. Hey, whatever. They're very comfortable, and even if you don't know what you're specifically wearing,
But Buddha Boxers, guys, BUDDHA Boxers.com. Use code Trinity Force, all lowercase, all one word, for 20% off your entire order. You're not going to get a better deal out there for anybody else at any other pair of underwear. I think everything, you guys will love these. And by the way, they're completely and totally green, which is awesome. Everything that they send the boxers in a cardboard sleeve. That cardboard sleeve is recyclable. They send a little insert that you can actually plant and grow wildflowers with. It's like an insert that talks about the boxers, as well as once these boxers are used, you can recycle the boxers as well because they're made out of bamboo. Very, very, very cool. So again, BuddhaBoxers.com.
Or you can feed them to your pandas.
Feed them.
Try that.
Don't.
If you have a panda, try it.
I don't think the manufacturers would like the fact that you're feeding their boxers to pandas.
Okay. Here's what I'll say instead. Don't do it at a zoo because you'll probably get thrown out and maybe arrested. If you have your own panda, though, try it. Tweet at me. Let me know. And then if I get my own panda, I'll have some food just left over.
All right, BuddhaBoxers.com. I keep wanting to do / There's no / BuddhaBoxers.com. Use code TrinityForce for 20% off. Now let's talk about League of Legends since we spent a lot of time on these boxers, and I think it's time to get into some listener questions and some discussion because I'm really excited to talk about League tonight. We're just going to roll right here at the top of the list, and Normal Anonymous, he writes in and asks, is a dragon worth a couple of deaths?
Maybe.
It depends on the dragon. I mean, it's such a simple question to ask, and there's usually so much more context around it and everything. I mean, I wouldn't risk a whole lot for like first cloud or mountain drakes. And early ocean drake can be a real big difference maker for a lot of different people's laning phases. So that one, if you sacrifice a champion, that might be worth it in my mind and everything. And then of course, Infernal Drake is kind of the big one that everybody looks at as far as what am I willing to sacrifice there. I mean, but what about when you get like later in the game? If they're sitting on 2 drakes and you got 1, maybe 2 left before Elder spawns, like that's when you really got to start thinking, what do we want to sacrifice to ensure that we at least get 1 drake?
So I was thinking about this a bit earlier, and I would say the context that comes to mind normally when this kind of question would come up would be an early game kind of Drake. And I would say that normally, no. Like, a couple of deaths is pretty impactful early on in the game. But I think that like Dom was saying, it depends on the context of the game. And I think one of the bigger ones is if there is going to be, like, if there's an Infernal later in the game, and there's going to be a significant Infernal deficit, if the other team gets that one, like let's say that puts them up 2 Infernals to 0 or 3 to 0 or like that, like 16% or 24% extra AD and AP is a crazy amount of bonus to try to overcome in a team fight, as opposed to the other ones where like a mountain won't influence those team fights so much. Obviously it influences different things completely, but and ocean and cloud would as well. Infernal seems to be the one where you can't allow that big of a deficit, and if you need to go pretty risky to make sure that either you end up even at the 8% or like 8 to 16 instead of 24% bonus, I think that one is worth it, even if it ends up being like 3 deaths, assuming you don't like also lose Baron.
I feel like Ocean gets really, really underappreciated and everything. I think there are just a lot of and maybe it's hard for a lot of players or for certainly like players within a certain MMR range to sort of really appreciate it. But I just kind of feel like Ocean Drakes allow you to do so much extra shit after a siege that you normally wouldn't get to do because you have so much additional regen coming your way. I don't know. I've always really liked that dragon. I know Sean really likes it. I don't know anybody else who really likes it, but he and I are both like hard on the Ocean Drake bandwagon.
I like it for like, I think Ocean's very good. Sorry, Adam, I'll get to that one to say, but I really like Ocean early because you're getting impact the entire game. Infernal, while being good to get early because it means you can get more later, doesn't do very, like it scales up significantly as the game goes on because it's a percentage of your damage. Whereas like that 8% doesn't really help you that much in laning phase. It's obviously not ever bad, but an Ocean Drake early might actually be better than an Infernal early. So I could appreciate if your team's looking for a long laning phase or to just kind of attrition out the opponents, Ocean Drake could help a ton.
At this point, I really do believe that all dragons are good. I know that Cloud is the least preferred dragon to pick up, but I firmly believe that in solo queue, Cloud Drake is a Drake to contest early at least. Later in the game, not so much. If we're talking, 20, 25 minutes, forget it. Let the enemy have the Cloud Drake. Don't get the deaths. But if you could pick up that first Cloud Drake within the first 10 to 12 minutes of the game, that extra 25 base move speed that you're receiving for that to be able to move around the map, because there's just so much that goes on in solo queue and so many rotations that have to happen, that extra Cloud Drake is super beneficial. Now, I understand why in pro games they may not like Cloud so much, or use it so often, but I am a firm believer that we should be taking Cloud Drakes when they spawn, specifically for solo queue. And it's just another one of those pieces that's underappreciated. Just in general, Dragon has always been underappreciated, even when it was giving global gold, which is arguably more powerful than what we're getting now. But when it comes to normals, question, is a Dragon worth a couple deaths? I'd say if the game is fairly equal, and that Dragon has the potential primarily, Infernal,
Inferno Dragon.
If that's gonna break open the game, if that's gonna break open the game for you guys, because that gives your Jhin the extra BF sword, or it gives your bot lane that little extra damage or whatever it may be. Yeah, if Jhin picks up. If Jhin has 2 Infernal Drakes, he can get extra BF Sword worth of damage out of all the items he's picking up by just having 2 Infernal Drakes, which is an incredible gold value for him. But there's a ton of other champions like that, where if you can pick up that dragon and you don't lose anything from it, like they're not pushing down turrets, or they come out and it's now 4-3 and you guys don't lose anything else for it, absolutely, it's probably worth it for you guys. But that's like trying to pick up the scraps after you've had your arm blown off, right? Because you took off the dude's leg, but you also had you also had a piece of your body taken off as well.
I would note something, that if you come away from listening to this episode and use this knowledge in a game, and let's say you do have those deaths happen and somebody says that wasn't worth, please do not try to rationalize it in the game with them, because right. Either if you reference our names, probably not going to help, or B, it's not going to make the the argument any better, because it was on a podcast. It was worth it because of this scenario.
I mean, and beyond that, it's just like, it's never a good idea to try and have an argument in chat when things are already tense. Just ignore it, or say, hey guys, let's focus on our shit. Diffuse it that way, but don't try to win an argument during a game of League of Legends.
Yeah. All right.
Well, I guess we could. Where's Sean? We need Sean on the show, because so we can talk about junglers.
I mean, the next question doesn't have anything about junglers.
No, but I'm skipping that question for the moment.
Okay, you want to go to the one after it, which is also not about junglers?
No, the one after it is about junglers.
The KMC is the third one.
No, Yummy Big Mac is about junglers.
Whatever, you skipped the Orianna question or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, because there was a Nathan question. Yeah, we'll get to that. That is not a question that I care to answer right this moment. Yummy Big Mac writes, I'm a gold 5 jungler. I started playing seriously and climbing during the State of Devourer meta, and I adopted the power farm / split push playstyle with champs like Udyr, Master Yi, and Jax. Now, though, I feel like the meta favors heavy gankers and front end damage, at least early sin, rather than power farming and DPS junglers. I really love my champ pool in this playstyle. What minimal changes could I make to be more efficient in this meta, or effective in this meta?
Oh God, talk to your team.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking. There aren't like minimal changes that you can make. It's not like there's one champion you can suddenly pick up, and then now you have a power farming champion who's always going to win games. I feel I want to say I was watching a pro game, but it might have been just I was in chat with somebody. It's like right now, the way the game is right now, it's all about who can get the most ganks off, like basically before everybody else turns level 6. Just like gank as much as you possibly can, and that's ultimately what it comes down to. And I know that doesn't answer your question, because the problem is that you're trying to play the game in a less effective way right now than is what's really working. Because like taking Udyr out of the conversation, who's really struggling, Master Yi and Jax are both performing really well, so it's definitely not a champion thing. It's kind of a you thing.
Right. Yeah,
If
Jax is
you're
performing
gonna
really
keep
well out of the jungle right now, which is good. Udyr's not doing as hot as everybody else, but he's not like the losingest jungler anymore either.
I mean, I know that doesn't answer your question, and I'm sorry, like I don't have a better answer for you. Maybe you could like play somebody like Nunu and turn
Dude, Nude is at a
your power farming
56.34% win rate.
turn your power farming approach into like a power counter jungling approach. You know, I mean, but it just sounds like you're kind of averse to ganking, and you know that's not like that's a play style that certainly worked in the past. It's just not the most effective way to do things right now. If you really sort of are averse to early conflict like that, you know, you could. Well, no, because I was going to say you could consider going to top lane, but there's still a lot of skirmishing and that type of stuff going on there.
Yeah, I mean, so in Gold 5, and even like below that, because I'm assuming this is what the style that brought you up to Gold 5. If you're good at something, you can kind of carry with it. This is like I said at the beginning, talk to your team and kind of make that clear. The most frustrating thing, if you're going to stick to power farming and split pushing, tell your team that, and maybe be okay with the fact that some people aren't going to like that, because it's going to create situations where people aren't going to like, they're either not going to respond to it or not respect it, and then like, hey, where's our jungler, blah blah blah. I don't know. It's not a very team-oriented thing, and if you're playing with people who know what you're doing and want to work with it, then it can work out really well. But if everyone's playing a different type of strategy, it can be kind of difficult. And I think when you're starting to get into gold is going to be the point where that's maybe not as viable anymore.
I mean, one of the reasons that this doesn't work as well now is because that the camps have less uptime. And I guess by that I mean like it takes longer for the camps to respawn than it did in previous seasons, and that might be why you're running into trouble here. You're just not getting the experience and gold that you're kind of at the rate that you're used to getting it. I think it still ends up being relatively even, but we talked about that so long ago that I've kind of forgotten the specifics of that. But you know, you're not getting everything at the rate that you're sort of used to, and that's why if you're not being aggressive about ganking, that's probably why you're starting to struggle right now.
It could be countering then, as you said, like, because yeah, the less uptime there are for camps, the less you have more time when you're just either waiting on camps to respawn and hopefully spending time ganking or counter jungling or something, or warding even. Like, even warding is beneficial. Deep wards would give you a bunch of information, but yeah, that's hard to like. We've got some interesting questions today. All right.
Well, I mean, the thing with these junglers is, I mean, you just mentioned it earlier. Master Yi and Jax are actually doing really well, especially down in Gold 5, right? I just played a game in Bronze earlier today, and I watched it. Everyone just wants to constantly fight. But, like, instead of adopting, you can adopt your play style to the meta by looking into the junglers that play well into that, where you don't have to necessarily gank, but instead you could be matching the enemy jungler where he's at. Let the jungler follow the jungler. You know, we talked about this. Follow them around. Understand how the jungler is going to move. Understand what Lee said and Lee like to do and where they like to be, and then match those ganks, gank for gank. Now you do have to change your play style a bit, but you are going to play this game either by setting a precedent for what the enemy jungler is going to do, because you're ganking all the time, so the enemy jungler feels like he has to gank all the time, or you're going to power farm and the enemy jungler feels like they can just have free reign on the map. And if you're not matching gank for gank, or you're not at least there when the gank is happening, and you're not counter ganking the enemy jungler or whatever it may be, you're doing your job ineffectively as a jungler, essentially. If you watch any pro game out there, whenever the jungler is ganking a lane, the enemy jungler is either on his way to or ready to gank the opposing lane there is, because they realize the value of keeping the map even and allowing to give the spikes to the champions that need it. So as you're playing a jungler, you really do need to look at your team and have an understanding of where you need to be, why I need to be there, and if you're going to dictate the flow of the game or if you're going to follow that flow. Specifically playing with Elise and Lee Sin, you know, those level 2 ganks can come in very early. They can come in about 2:30, 3 o'clock at the top lane, and you could be up there as well. I know a lot of times playing junglers, you can meet the enemy jungler in that tri-bush in top lane and be ready for the fight. On the same vein, you could just go, decide to just counter jungle at level 2.
Especially if you're playing Yi and Jax, if you're just waiting in that top tri-brush and everything, odds are good it's not warded. Like right around gold 5, I don't really know what the warding habits of top laners are, but most of them suck at warding. And even then, a lot of them suck at paying attention to who's coming in through their gank paths and everything. But so there's a decent chance you can just wait in one of those brushes and fuck somebody up when they walk into it, because they're not going to be expecting you. They're going to be looking at their target.
Dude, I had the weirdest
They're going to be looking
game.
at the person they can see on the map, not the fucking jungler that they don't know where is.
So I had the weirdest game earlier. I was playing Nunu, and I was actually playing down into the low silver bronze. I was playing with Ranhurt, actually, on one of my Smurfs, because he's been begging me to play. And I'm like, well, I've used you on the podcast a couple times. I guess I can play at least one game with you. But it was the oddest thing. There was a Lee Sin, and the Lee Sin started red buff, and they were on red side because I started my red as Nunu and walked over. I'm like, well, I'm going to walk over, ha, 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 and steal his red, and it was gone. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? And the dude is already on the other side of the map trying to farm instead of ganking top lane at level 2. But I just thought it was just an odd jungling path, and now it gives me a better appreciation for some of the stuff that you guys have to deal with, because we give you all this advice on how the game should be played, but then suddenly the Lee Sin is taking red and then going over to this blue, and you're just kind of left like, well, I tried to counter juggle or wait there. But if that happens, just run in and gank, right? Blow a flash, run back to your side, get a couple levels. The whole goal of jungling for you is to be level 5 / level 6 by the time that your buffs pop up the second time around. Because if you're level 4 and your buff pop up the second time around, you have done ineffective ganks, most likely, or you have died somewhere, and that's when you want to go back. I had somebody write in and ask me, how do I look at my replay reviews? I actually don't understand what I'm looking for. I just watch and go, well, this happened, that sucks. How do I get better from that? And here's one tip if you're a jungler. If you're level 4 when those buffs spawn, you have done something ineffective previously to that, because you should be almost level 5, if not level 5, when those buffs are spawning. Boom, free advice.
Meanwhile, Mitch has got that 100% new win rate.
Yeah, I do. I am 100% in the jungle this season. 1-0.
Congratulations, Mitch. How does it feel?
That was a fun game. That was a
very
game.
fun.
We had to work really hard.
Also, Adam's like, "Do you want to play bot?" I'm like, "Fuck no! I'm play Nunu. Play this. I win rate champ."
56.5% win rate jungler. Anybody can fucking play that champion right now and get away from it.
Oh, don't worry. I didn't make myself a trophy that says 100% win rate on the season.
Nunu's been pretty goddamn brain dead for about 7 seasons now.
Yeah.
Well, Nunu. Hey, Nathan wrote in the question you guys gave me crap for before. When do you guys recommend playing? Recently, I've been playing in the morning, and I seem to find more success than in the evening or at night. Any idea why this is?
First off, we did not give you crap for this question. We gave you crap for skipping over another question and just saying, like, apparently not seeing it.
Right, that's what I said.
Cool. When do you recommend playing during the day? I mean...
No, he wants to know when you
whenever
recommend
you feel
playing.
good.
Because we've had this question in the past, right? Where people have wrote in and been like, well, I find that morning works better. I find 3 a.m. works better. Well, sometimes working in the afternoon works fine for me. Honestly, I don't think that there is nothing here. I don't think there's anything to this at all. You could argue. I've heard the arguments. Well, the kiddies wake up at 1 p.m. so they start playing, and then they play into the evening, and then yada yada. And I've had Wrecker tell me, well, I get all the really cool people at 3 or 4 a.m. in the morning, and I have a better chance there.
Everyone's drunk, is what you mean. Is what
Yeah,
you mean.
sure.
I've had a lot of good games, 2:30, 3 a.m. mark and everything, because I was wasted and just decided it was time to play League. But
I think it's more up here in your head than it is actually what's going on there. You might just find that you play better at certain times during the day. Maybe having that cup of coffee, you play better in the morning, and then when you play at night, you've had such a long day that winding down with League isn't the right thing to be doing.
I would say it shouldn't be like right after like sleep, or maybe not right after eating. I'd say like right after if you wake up, like get a cup of coffee, figure your shit out, or maybe like after the gym later in the day, at gym and then eating. That seems like times when my brain would be more active than normal, because I feel like that's what you got to be ready for. And then warming up like a little bit. Not that I've done that in a while because I've had time, but
I'm sure we've talked about this during other mentality episodes, but like definitely playing at low stress times for you. If you have a stressful job or you had a tough day at work, sitting down and playing League isn't necessarily the best way to like at least not playing ranked and everything. It's not the best way to unwind, because there's a decent likelihood that there are going to be different like additional stress enhancers, and your existing stress level might actually end up causing you more harm than good, going into that type of game and everything. So I agree with everything that's been said, but like just keep in mind your own routine and what's stressing you the hell out.
I won't jump into ranked if I've had a bad day at work, or if I come home and the dog has shit on the carpet and the kids are throwing a fit and everything else is just going to hell. I won't sit down and play League of Legends. I'll play something else. I'll play Hearthstone, or I'll play the Heroes of the Storm or StarCraft or something I don't care about, because I think there's just too much mental it's too mentally exhausting for me to play League of Legends, that if I'm already preoccupied with something else, I can't devote my full attention to League, so I can't have a good understanding of what's going on in the game. Like last week when we talked about it, Ranhert said, I throw out way too much information when I play the game. And that's because I have to be completely and totally focused on the game and what's going on at any point in time.
Oh, you mean talking about it? Just like talking through what you're doing?
Yeah, like
that's what you're okay.
Just throwing out. Here's a good something that happened earlier that made me laugh. Right, he's playing Swain. And we go, it's just he and I that go down the dragon. And I look on the map, and I see that Malzahar is moving down, and I see Lee Sin out of the jungle is moving down toward us, because I had deep boarded previously to that. And Ranhert decides to use the W on the dragon at 3,000 life of Swain, which is his route, to help DPS it down. And I'm like, hey, you saw Malzahar and Lee moving, right? What? They're moving? I'm like, oh, God. Oh, this is the game I have to play. Like, yeah. That's probably something else I should talk about, is using abilities at the wrong time. Eventually, one day, we'll talk about using abilities at the wrong time to farm. But, yeah, there's just there's a lot.
Do that whenever.
Sure. There's just a lot that goes on in the game that I have to keep my focus on, and if I'm preoccupied with something else, I just won't play as well as I want to play. So, there you go. Right? Yes? No? More?
Yeah. More! Sure, man. Talk about more about your schedule.
Sure. Let's see. At 6 o'clock in the morning, I wake up, and then about at 6:20, I go ahead and
shut up. But I was gonna follow up. Like, if he feels like he's playing better during the day, like especially if it's early and everything, odds are good it's like you got a decent night's sleep, and you're low stress. Your mind's pretty clear going into it and everything. You don't really have anything weighing you down. So yeah, that's a great time to go in and play games. Also, when you're drunk.
Yeah, that's a great. Oh my god, I love playing drunk. I should have done that the other night, but I got too tired. Sorry to, I guess, nobody, or sorry to the 9 people who would have played with me.
I play
a few games where, you just shown up while I was on. You're like, dude, let's do this. Let's do I'm blackout drunk, but this is happening.
Oh yeah, checking your champion GG the next day is always interesting. OPGG to see what you played, because I've had a couple times like I know I played. I have no idea what I played.
I was left at the League of Legends altar by a drunk karma one night named Mitch Cereal Box, and so therefore I will never play with drunk Mitch again.
Hey, I have gotten much better since then at playing drunk, because that was I was very nervous being around Adam and Shira for the first time, and so I did as many car bombs as it takes to not be nervous.
Did you?
So, oops.
I don't think you did. Did you? You didn't watch Sean eat 12 hot dogs that night, right?
No, I did. That was that weekend.
Was it that the same weekend?
Yeah, that was the same. It's the only time I've been up to Skyline with you guys. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we went there for lunch and he ate like 12 fucking hot dogs. All right. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a reason I avoid Skyline now, and it's that memory.
God, that was the most disgusting thing I've ever seen in my life. That man.
Yup.
All right, let's talk about Ricky's question. I'm going to jump down here a little bit. The editors hate him. Ricky asks, how many games / wins does one need on a champion to find themselves as a one trick?
I don't feel like it's a specific number of games. I feel like it's more a percentage of your games played. Like, let's look up our friend Marine Revenge right now to see.
Hey, don't give me the number yet. I would guess in the like 70 to 80% range is a crazy high number when you think about the number of champions in the game, even on a per role basis. Like, otherwise, like 5% maybe would be like on a per role basis would be averaging out. So like 14 times that.
We're talking only ranked games, but this season alone he has 321 games on Garen. 18 on Darius, 16 on Xin 14 on Dr. Mundo, 5 on Jarvan the Fourth, 4 on Jax, 4 on Trinamir, and so on and so forth, and everything.
So that's put it in the 70-80 range easily.
Well, last season when I was playing Jhin,
higher.
I had 90 games played total on Jhin with a 64% win rate. My next highest was 28 games played with Ezreal. So I would say at any point in time where you're playing that champion, well over 50% of the time is you are now a one trick on that champion. There are some people out there that have 500-600 games already this season on one single champion, and it's not Marine, right?
Yeah. I mean, and you can't mistake having like your most played champion as your one trick or something. Going back to last season, I had 68 Taric games, but then 63 Morgana games, 62 Janna games, 48 on Braum, 46 on Alistar and everything. Just like, I mean, that's a pretty close range for 5 different champions there. That's not bad or good. It's just like, I wouldn't say that I was a Taric main last season just because he was my most played champion.
By the way, that Garen number is at 81% play rate.
Yeah.
Jesus.
I mean, if you just like if it's and it's not like it's just I mean he's willing to play Garen into the overwhelming majority of the matchups out there. He prefers to give himself a chance to get a good matchup, but even when he had like he's staring down in bad matchup, I'd see it like the gears turning in his head every time. He's like, just pick Garen. I'm gonna do it anyway. And maybe that's because he knows the quality of the opponent that he's facing when playing with me might be a bit lower since I am not in Diamond, but.
Let's talk about KMC's question. I want to learn how to play Orianna, and heard Mitch say he was learning her. Do you have any points or tips? I find the hardest thing is ulting when the ball is in the wrong area.
I almost want to murder you, not because you went to this question, but because there's another KMC question at the bottom here. So we've jumped around, and I had no idea which direction you were going with it. Well, funny thing, we are hopefully going to have an Orianna podcast, Champions League podcast coming out soon. Had to unfortunate delay recording this past weekend. But so far it's I mean, I have maybe 6 or 7 games total on Orianna. The first thing I've noticed is trying to position the ball, leaving the ball in areas that can that allow you to strike your opponent or zone them off of CS or make them scared to move to specific areas is very easy to do. And the move ability is not very mana intensive, so you can do that pretty easily. I think that's the best laning phase thing to do because you're also your auto attacks do a bunch of damage, so you can mess with people, but you're never gonna all in people pretty early on. As far as ulting when the ball is in the wrong area, that is a great question because I have sombreroed a lot of times and in a lot of areas, including on my own character, and I don't have a good answer for that. I think that I'm pretty sure that whenever you cast a move, either the Q or E for E being protect, if you Q up W or R, or spamming them, it'll wait till you arrive. I don't think it'll cast those mid motion. So I think that's a safety net of sorts, but I would love to know as well, but hopefully we'll have a bit more.
A while ago, a long time ago, it's probably 2-3 years ago at this point, I asked for tips because I wasn't going to learn Orianna. Don't remember why, but something that's probably stupid and that a lot of people don't know is that the E, when you E to yourself and the ball is returning, it actually does damage. So a good wave clear is to Q out E back. Yeah,
I was going to mention that. And one thing that I did a long time ago for a number of because a number of different champions kind of have a shield or heal type of or some type of steroid on their E key is I assigned self-casting that to one of the side buttons on my mouse so that I can just press it and I get a shield, which for Karma and Nami, or Nami's not a shield, but it is a movement speed steroid. Just little things like that for myself and everything. And what I realized with Orianna was that all of a sudden I had way, way, way faster reactions with Command Protect, both just getting dealing the additional damage with it and then getting that shield to myself. Because when I've played her since adding this key binding, all of a sudden I was just able to habitually do it without thinking about it, and it really made life a whole lot easier for me.
I would note that if you don't know this, which I've known it for so long that I forget that some people might not, alt plus any key is a self-cast normally bound, which is what Dom just reassigned. So if you weren't doing that already, like, and if you were hitting E and then clicking on your own target, that's a very difficult thing to do in the midst of a team fight or pretty much any time.
Yeah, and I just found myself doing that with that specific key so often. Then I was like, there's got to be a faster way to do this than to try and remember the alt command.
Yeah, don't forget to use Orianna's auto attacks in lane. It's really easy to just want to use the ball to zone and do damage, but you can spam yourself really fast because using W, for example, where it makes the ball spiral out, doesn't actually do a whole ton of damage without some AP on you.
I can, yeah.
But you can, yeah, what? Is something happening that I'm missing? I think we're lagging out. We'll have to wait.
Just you, yeah.
We'll wait. Do.
Yeah, it's funny because we can see his video, so it's just like catching up. It's not stuttering or anything. He's just behind. Sorry, everybody.
Well, am I back now?
You started talking 36:39. I've already got it timestamped, so we can cut that out.
You were making good points. It just
I don't know that.
Humorously, Mitch froze for me, and Dom continued to talk, but it was delayed, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Anyway, so there you go. We're back. Are you all can hear me again?
Lagging or not? Are you lagging?
I'm fine.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just talking. All right, good. We're back. He's got it all set down. Sierra Box will let Lance for know that, but then I'll get into my Orianna thing here again, so let me pause. Something else to consider with Orianna is to use your auto attacks to harass the lane. Her passive allows you to do more damage every time that you land an auto attack on the same target. I think a lot of people get preoccupied when they learn Orianna to throw the ball around and try to use W to do damage. And W doesn't do a lot of damage without some added AP into her kit, and you can yourself really fast by moving the ball and E-ing, back and forth and whatnot. But auto attacks, I have to imagine are her primary source of harass and lane outside of moving the ball and Wing.
Yeah, you get the Q. So Q and then an auto attack sets you up for a very easy either second auto attack, which would get your Thunderlords off, or a QW auto is a pretty easy combo to hit very quickly. Because if the auto attack's going already, you could just run away, and you're hopefully mitigating any sort of trade damage coming at you. So I'd say it's as far as laning goes, which I think is probably going to be the hardest thing to learn about her because you're now controlling two different things. Is like ball placement for zoning purposes, or zoning means preventing CS or even damaging them, and then using your autos. Not like don't overextend pretty hard to get like autos off. They're very good for trading, but they are not equivalent to like somebody else hitting a skill in an auto attack. So like you could easily in a lane where skills do a bunch of damage get punished for that if you just keep walking up and being like, I just got to auto them to death. I'm Teemo now.
I remember a while ago when Nashor's Tooth got reworked, people wanted to build on hit attack damage Orianna. Oh god. And they tried it, never worked.
Nope. No,
it's because she needs ability power for Clockwork Winding to actually do shit.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to go down the list now and not jump around because Mitch doesn't like when I do that. And because I just wanted to piss him off earlier. Kevin writes in, my friends and I are a bunch of parents who play a couple nights a week. We're all bronze and okay with that. We have a special needs friend who joins us occasionally, and things like warding, masteries, and runes are beyond him. Do you have any suggestions on what role and which champions might be best suited to someone like him? I've been having him play mid, thinking that he can roam more, and there's an open champ pool. He may not understand the game much, but he still feels bad if the rest of us are doing okay, and the 13-0 Yasuo from his lane wipes the rest of us. We don't enjoy that much either, but we still want to keep playing with him.
I was actually thinking like mid and like the hang back DPS style champions work pretty well in that kind of regard. Like I'm thinking
with Annie.
Annie, I was thinking like Annie, Karthus.
There was a Reddit post a while back where they like asked, you have one player from. You have one bronze, one silver, one gold, one platinum, one diamond, and everything. Who do you want playing what role? And I think the overwhelming consensus was they wanted the bronze player playing AD carry.
Really? Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Well, I mean, Yeah, the reality is that AD carry's job is to just like shoot whatever is closest and everything. And yes, there is a lot of nuance to that and everything, but on a general level, the AD carry just has to shoot stuff. Whereas like more and more, like the higher up you go with everything, like you need people sort of proactively thinking about and doing more things, or who can handle doing more things. So it might be worth your while, especially because there is a dual lane. You know, there's kind of a babysitter involved. With the support who might be able to sort of shore up this individual's weaknesses. The other thing I could think of is like maybe the jungle, just because you can sort of set him on a route, and because you guys know the type of player you're playing with, you all know to like you can play a little bit more conservatively, or know how to deal with the ganks that are realistically going to be coming to your lane when you might not have the support that you're looking for. But that was what I was really able to come up with as far as the answer to this question. I like this question a lot. Good on you guys for like continuing to play with somebody who, you know, could easily frustrate a whole lot of other players out there. You know, especially because you want to keep playing with him.
Personally, I'd probably just end up playing ARMS with the guy all the time rather than playing someone just Rift. But I understand if you have limited time, because I know what it's like to be a father or a dad or whatever you want to call it, and you know, you have to get your Summoner Rift games in. I'm going back and forth between, like, if I had to throw somebody in there, we're not just going to talk about your special needs friend, but like a bronze player, for example. If I was playing with the bronze and one of each rank where to throw them, I'm going back and forth between throwing the person top or throwing the person bottom at marksman, because the only thing that stops me from wanting to say top lane is the fact that you could put initiators in the top lane that help snowball the fight. But for the most part, top lane is that island, and a lot of times that island can stay there forever. And if that person continue to draw aggro from other people, then it becomes a 4v4 for you and the rest of your teammates to be able to turn the game around. Unlike with a marksman where you're just hoping that he shows up and is able to do damage. Other than that, it's on you to win your lanes. So I almost wonder if top lane is the place to end up throwing that bronze or special needs person. Because and just tell them, make this your island, you know, make sure the enemy doesn't move, and try not to die.
Oh, I was thinking like AD carry actually makes a lot of sense in bronze too, because it literally the game plan is hit the closest person, and that's all you have to do. Even though like you might not be dealing, like you might not be hitting the back line, like that's. If you're hitting the front line, you're still damaging them, and you guys can take care of the rest of like the setups. Like I think that's not too bad.
I mean, and I'm assuming you're running with a 5-stack here, but if everybody is on comms, you know, you can play around the fact that you know your weakest player is in the bottom lane. Your jungler can give a lot more attention to bot lane. Mid lane can try to roam down there and coordinate around it. And the AD carry will have the babysitter in the form of the support. I'm not saying this is the most efficient or effective way to play the game. I'm just talking about the circumstances specifically. Give you a lot more opportunity to play around somebody with I guess a lower skill level is what it ultimately comes down to. Than
well, shit, Dom. I wish that was the fact, because I try to play lane, but none of my fucking junglers will camp my lane and help me out. Everybody else just wants to go to top and mid. So I guess apparently I have to start trying to play this game.
Yeah, you might have to try. I would appreciate it if you would start trying instead of doing all this shit like, oh yeah, no, we got it. Oh, I guess we died.
I just need you to press Q more often. I don't care what champ you're on. Just press Q more often.
I press Q all the time.
Press it more often, Dom. You see champion, press Q.
The other day, I literally said, I'm not doing this for this reason. And Adam says, no, go ahead and do it. And then the reason I said it was, we had no vision. So I was not going aggressive because I was expecting the jungler to come down. Adam goes, no, just go aggressive anyway. It doesn't matter. And then sure as shit, the moment I go aggressive, like it was a second later,
listen,
the jungler
Dom,
shows up.
Listen, all right, we're doing this in the podcast right now because we're doing this. Listen, if you're going to play Blitzcrank, you're going to be a fucking man, okay? And if you're going to be a fucking man, starting at level 1, you're going to start fucking throwing Qs. And every time that Q's off cooldown...
I was throwing Qs
No.
Listen
to me. Every time that Q is off cooldown, that hook is out of your hand and it's back on cooldown. That is fucking how you play Blitzcrank. I understand zoning. I understand waiting, and walking around and yada yada, standing for fun. No, you fucking put your body in front of that enemy and you press Q and we try to kill them. And if we die, it's because you didn't press Q hard enough. This is all on you because you played Blitzcrank.
I didn't shatter my Q into a million pieces.
Damn it, Dom! I need you to shatter your Q. Just like I
Do
need.
like a Lux laser from like the Hellbots or Doombots. Sorry.
If Dom could
Shoot
pull
Blitzcrank
that
hooks
off,
everywhere.
He wants the Blitzcrank hand to go through the opponent's monitor.
you know what? If you could strangle the enemy player so they can no longer play, I think you would have a newfound ability that would just allow you to roll right into Masters, and you should abuse that ability until Riot bans you.
Well, obviously.
Hey, no. Hey, if it just like knocks them out, like if it pulls them into the screen and knocks the person out, they are A, going to come to and have no idea what just happened. And B, if they got strangled instead, they're going to remember that a bit better. So like, let's think about this a bit more rationally, guys. This sounds like you all didn't think it out.
When do we ever
This
think
is
about
the stupidest thing I've ever
leadership?
said, maybe.
All right, are we having a logical discussion based on what would happen if Blitzcrank's arm came to the screen and how the person would feel after they were strangled or pulled by Blitzcrank?
You were talking shit for so long to Dom, I forgot which champion you were talking about. That's how much attention I was just paying to your guys' little. I wouldn't call it fight, maybe a tiff, and it was one-sided. It seemed.
Dom, be a man.
I'll do the best I can.
Let's
here.
cheese it. You know what? I'm gonna start bringing cheese it back. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna say, all right, Dom, let's cheese it. And you're gonna say, no, the shotgun's gonna be here. I'll be like, fuck it, Dom. We're
Cheese
men.
it. Cheese it is what I said when we needed to get the fuck out of anywhere, and I still say that.
I don't think you've said cheese it in like 2 months. I'll be honest.
Well, okay, we haven't been playing with Sean as much though.
Well, that's fair. That is a fair point.
And Sean's the guy who I'm normally like. I'm in fucking the jungle where nobody should be, and there's like 4 guys closing in, and I was like, cheese it, get out.
All right, let's talk about Flake Nut. Excuse me. After listening to your advice on going back to basics, I've decided to tour all of the roles. My goal is to set aside 1 week where I rotate through the other positions to remind myself what it's like to play as something other than support. What should I pay attention to during this tour?
Your positioning. When playing those roles, pay attention to your positioning specifically within fights. Last season, I spent a couple weeks playing AD carry basically to do just this purpose, and I realized just how often I was losing vision of targets during fights and how much that was screwing me over. And as a result, I turned that into my support play. Like I'm actively just trying to throw wards down into brush where I think opponents are going to go, so that Adam can start shooting people.
Give me vision. That's all I want. Yeah. Dude, if you're playing AD carry, the something that you need to know is what can you hit and what can't you hit, and when can you start hitting that champion and when do you have to back off? Because there is this fine line when playing marksman of how long you can stand in a fight before you have to stop DPSing. It's kind of like the old raid bosses in WoW where it's like DPS, now stop DPSing! Now wait, now DPS some more, because sometimes you're just in there throwing a couple autos and you have to stand back and wait for cooldowns and then you go back in, right? Like if you play marksman, pay attention to when you have to fight, when you can't fight, when those openings are, because I think that'll help out your other play. Other than that, I think positioning is probably the number one thing to pay attention to if you're playing any other role, to understand when you're using your cooldowns and why you're using them.
And we're not saying like you need to position perfectly or anything. Like just pay attention to how you are positioning or trying to position, so that when you go back to playing support, you know what your teammates are looking to do.
So one thing I would note for junglers and top, who often are, the thing that I want to point out for those two, brawlers, but they usually have to figure out at some point if you're going to play this well, based on what the team comps are. If in a specific game you're going to be more like in team fights, more of a peeler or more of a diver, and that can kind of, depending on what you play as your support, if you've played like tanky ones or somebody who doesn't engage or goes in or peels, like because that can happen all over just support role. I think that there could be kind of a tendency when you switch roles that you're not as comfortable with to kind of revert to kind of going animalistic with it and maybe going really dive heavy in some games or not peeling for your team when that was really what you needed to do the most. So that's, I think, something that you might want to pay attention to a little bit more as you're going through those roles. It might not be game 1, but if you fix it in game 3 as opposed to like not at all during the week, then you've at least paid more attention and probably like gained some game knowledge you might not have. I think that would be the main thing. Like positioning, obviously, I didn't have much more to chime in on that, but I think that's something to look out for in those roles specifically. I mean, mage, everyone should be that works in positioning too, I suppose. But like knowing what your role is, probably yes,
marksman.
Probably yes.
The other thing I can think of, I guess, is like especially for mid lane. Pay attention to how much downtime you end up having between waves. It's not going to apply to every single champion out there, but if you start to get a feel for how a class of champions works as a support, you can start taking you can translate into actionable tactics, I guess, that could pay dividends in the long term to get real business speaky on you.
Well, we had talked about this previously. I mean, hell, we've talked about this a lot. Pretty much this is the same exact discussion, where if you're playing jungle, you should always note where you're at. I think something that would be really good for you to do, or anybody out there who decides to do this, I actually really like this idea, Flake. If you decide you don't want to play ranked or you're trying to get better for later in the season, I think it's a really good idea to go play 10 games with each role just to get an understanding of how those roles play. Pick some basic champions, use those roles, and go do it. Now let's talk about jungle, for example. If I'm playing jungle, grab yourself a notepad. I just thought of this. I think it's really awesome. Grab yourself a notepad.
We're all learning here, ladies and
yeah.
gentlemen. We're gonna find out if Adam has good or bad ideas.
Gank a lane. You don't have to do this. You can go watch the replay, right? You can do this. But gank a lane and then mark down the time that you ganked that lane. And do it every single time for the 10 games that you did. I ganked top, I ganked bot. So you can get a better understanding of when you were playing what champion and where you were at what time in the game. Because that'll give you, as a support, you'll have an understanding where the jungler is at any point in time. Because you'll go, all right, well, I was playing Lee Sin, and I, over the 10 games that I played, hopefully you're not playing Lee Sin, but over the 10 games I played Lee Sin, I was ganking at 3 minutes, 3:25, 3:15, 3:10. So between 3 and 3:30, I was ganking at this side of the map more frequently. You can do the same thing by going back and looking at your replays and looking at the junglers. You can get an idea with a data set of where the junglers are ganking and when that allows you to play the game better. Now, so that you don't necessarily have to go play that role, but if you want to play it to learn how they play through other aspects, you can as well. But I actually do think that's a really good
way
idea.
to use replays. No, it's a way to use replays. We were talking about that earlier, and people just feel like they don't know what to do with them. Yeah, if you get into a game, like you don't even have to play jungle yourself and everything, but if you get into a game with somebody who you felt was a really good jungler on either team, like I think that's a really good idea. Like just go and watch what that person did so you can start to prepare yourself for it. And obviously if you're a mid laner, you can't really do a whole lot, if they level 3, when they level 3 gank top, or if they level 2 gank bottom or something. But just overall, seeing how junglers are approaching shit.
Is there something to this? Now, I'm just throwing shit at the wall, see if it sticks. There's something to this where potentially somebody could analyze 50, 100 games. Now, I know that's a lot of work, but still, and go, all right, in bronze, junglers tend to gank between the 5-minute mark and the 6-minute mark. Or in diamond, they tend to gank between the 3 and 4-minute mark, whatever it is, and see if there's a correlation between rank and when they're ganking or how they're playing the game specifically. Because
I would be willing to bet that
gets
tighter the higher your MMR gets. Like it gets tighter and more predictable the higher your MMR gets. Whereas in, like you were just saying earlier today, you went to invade red and it turns out that jungler had started red and you were like, what?
Yeah, right? Like, why are you starting red?
So
the fuck? Sure. I'm curious. It's not something I want to do or pay anybody to do. It's one of those data sets that I'd really like to look at and go, okay, that's good information to have, even though I don't ever play in bronze. But I think it would be helpful for anybody out there to go look at a set of 5 of their replays and just kind of get a statistical average of when the enemy jungler is ganking or when the enemy mid laner is roaming and when first blood is and yada yada, so you get a better understanding of how the game is flowing in the elo that you are in.
So I think that might be just... I don't think you necessarily meant this to be for all lanes or all roles, but I actually kind of like that if you took like 5 games and then, I don't know, watched 5 games to see like what improved. Like if you noticed something like, oh, on the 5th game, like I noticed that I did this more. And then if you went back and saw, okay, I got punished for this because I didn't know that at the time. Now I know these things. If you've got the time to do it, then hell yeah, why not? I mean, you can speed games up. You can only watch laning phase if that's what your main concern, is. There's a lot you can do if you're willing to go back and look, and you've got the time to do it. Also, I love the idea. of ganking And like as the gank is finishing, but like you've just gotten one kill and like the fight's happening, like saying pause everybody, and then like taking down noting the time. Like that just sounds very like that. The image of that happening made me laugh a lot.
I mean, the problem, of course, you're going to run into is that people have a finite amount of time available to play this game, and not a lot of people want to spend that watching and studying something. They want to just sit down and play it. And I suppose like that's the difference between like playing to improve and really trying to improve and climb, and just, you know, not even playing to win, just sort of playing because you want to play or enjoy playing and everything. Like I just in thinking about it, I have not been grinding this season. Like I've been sitting down to play games here and there because I feel like playing, but I just have not been grinding. And so when I really thought about it, it's like I don't know what I've improved on this season relative to last season. So I mean, and that's not fundamentally bad. It's just it's hard for me to
It is.
I don't know. Like
June
I was so
26th.
enthusiastic about the grinding and everything last season, and I just lost that drive this one.
It is June 26th. T-minus 1 month until baby. Yeah, I have not been grinding hard this season at all, either, Dobbs. So I'm right there with you. I learned a lot last season.
You need to get your ass in. You need to get your ass in gear if you want diamond before baby comes.
It's not gonna happen. I ain't got the time for it. I got too much other shit to get together. This year is the last year was the year I had time and I made it. I proved the world I could fucking do it. Now you know what, all you haters out there who are always like, hey, what rank are you? And be like, I got a family. All right, KeyMC writes in, what boots are best on Jhin now? I know you said to use Warlords this season and to go with a crit build, but what boots would you use? Boots of Swiftness. There's no reason not to build Boots of Swiftness on him. The Cooldown Essence River used to be a build on him. It still works out well if you find that you're casting, you need the ultimate up more often, essentially, but you're a one and done when it comes to Q and W, and so you don't need the cooldown reduction through Ionian Boots of Lucidity, the extra attack speed that you receive through Berserker Greaves does not give you enough damage to warrant buying those, so the extra move speed after a crit is more important, as well as having reduced slows through other champions. Just continue to buy Boots of Swiftness on Jhin. There's really, I mean, you can buy Ionian Boots of Lucidity, and I think they work out really well in specific niche case scenarios where you need that ultimate more often, you need W more often, but the fact of the matter is you're rotating your spells once and never casting them again throughout a team fight.
You were down on his buffs in the last patch and everything, but he's climbed 3%. He's hovering right around 50%.
I know. I think that, I mean, whatever. That's fine. He's 50%. I've been playing him. I just don't think he still does the damage that he just doesn't do the damage that I'm looking for. I'm on the Varus train, even though I think Varus is doing worse than he is right now. I think I haven't looked.
I'm like marginally. It's not
right.
meaningful.
49.6. Right. I am all on the Varus hype train for solo queue this season.
I am tired of seeing Caitlyn. I'm getting really scared of Draven because he's showing up a lot and crushing shit.
I just banned Draven now.
10 mans, baby.
Fuck that champion. And fuck Nunu and fuck Thresh. I ban all those fucking champions now.
Yeah, you're finally on my bandwagon for Thresh.
I mean, generally speaking, I'm not scared of Thresh, but I've run into too many good ones recently in the ELO that I'm currently in that I've just started banning the champion.
Yeah, man.
Was bandwagon a pun on purpose?
No.
Okay.
I would never.
It wasn't
I would
great.
never do that on purpose. I would never do that on purpose.
That's unfortunate. Hey guys, BuddhaBoxers.com, BUDDHA Boxers.com. Use code TrinityForce for 20% off your entire order. I am still as comfortable as I was when I started this podcast. All through all the sweating and arguing and getting heated and whatnot, everything is just cool and comfortable and beautiful. BuddhaBoxers.com, code TrinityForce. Dude, it is beautiful.
Okay.
We'll turn the cameras on after the show.
God, don't use that voice again. Hey, regarding Champ Select, so a couple quick updates. Tarek will hopefully be getting recorded on Thursday. Orianna is on a to be determined, and Brand hopefully will be coming out. There were some technical difficulties with that episode being recorded in the first place. The second half of the guest audio had switched over to my voice instead.
Nice.
So that was his recording didn't quite work out. So he just re-recorded what he thinks is the right stuff for the second half. and hopefully that will be spliced together. It might not be as good quality because of that, and I apologize if so, because it's kind of, well, I hope you understand that one's kind of, it was either a re-record or who knows. So
Right.
we'll hopefully that will be out. That was the support brand, by the way.
Hey, by the way,
Not
I'm just going to throw it there. I made an ass of myself this week as I was looking for champions because I posted on the Karthus main subreddit, and then I realized after I'd already posted, we did Karthus a while ago, about 6 months ago. And even the person who did the Karthus was just like, hey, I did this with you guys. I was like, oh, fuck. I was missing one champion on my spreadsheet, and it was Karthus. So,
we're at like 45. So
47.
we're getting to the point where that 47. Jesus. All right, we're getting to the point where that is a real concern.
Right. Yeah. What happened? Yep. I was missing the one champion.
7.
What's that?
Oh, I guess 7 on our game show. Wait, when was that? In December, November, or something?
Something.
Yeah. And on the trivia show, just to really stick it to Mitch.
I'm having them on this episode.
Oh, my camera's over here. Shit. I put the other screen with your guys' video over here and the camera here. So
that's why I moved my camera halfway through, because I realized that you guys are right here on like the right side of my screen, and I was always looking like awkwardly. So anyway,
I've got my video like positioned right between my two monitors to give more or less a head-on view.
I got a new monitor, so that's nice. Oh, I told you guys that last week.
All right, guys, thanks so much for listening to Trinity Force Podcast. You can tell us more about the monitor after we end. Guys, we will see you all on Wednesday with a patch note episode. Guys, have a good evening and peace.
Later.
Bye.